my blueprint was a freaking mess. Hey, welcome back to another lesson. In this lesson, we're going to talk about something that I am super passionate about. Your money blueprint. When I learned this concept, I had like light bulbs going off, and I realized that my blueprint was a freaking mess. I don't remember when I read this book. It's this book right here, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, T. Harv Eker. That's where this concept of a money blueprint is really outlined. It's the big core concept of this book right here. And I read this, maybe it was like 2006 or 7. It was before I hit a 7-figure agency, so it must have been 2006 that I read this. When did this even come out? This thing came out in... Let's find out. Hold tight, hold tight. This came out in 2005. So I bet you it was 2006 that I learned this concept of a money blueprint. And it was a big light bulb going off for me. I realized my blueprint was a mess. You might realize in this lesson that your blueprint is a mess, and we're going to start working on fixing it. So we got to fix your money blueprint, or you're never going to make any money in your business. This is the house I grew up in. I spent most of my life in here from the time I was about 6 or 7 until I graduated high school. My parents still live in this house right here. So this is a 1-story, short roof or short ceiling house. It's an awesome house. I love it. Grew up there. It is on a lake in northern Indiana, a couple hours outside of Chicago. And that's the house. And this is me. They still live in that house. Those 2 rooms behind there. I was in the room over my right shoulder for a while and the room over my left shoulder for most of my high school years and stuff. Shared a room with my brother. I had 4 brothers. So this house was like, I don't know, 2,000 square feet, maybe less. And I had my 4 brothers. And it was just like this. What you see here was like all day long, just the fighting, wrestling, whatever. And that van behind us was the van that we would go on trips. And my parents just took us to national parks and stuff, state parks, and we'd go camping. Those were our trips. We'd all pile in the van. We all got to bring like a backpack of stuff. That was all you had room for. And then we'd bring some gigantic tent, and we would go and just be in the woods and the forest and hike and all that stuff all day long. That was my trips. I went on an airplane like once before I was like financially independent, living on my own. Then I started flying places. But growing up, we never flew anywhere. We would drive in the van because we didn't have a ton of money. It was fine. It was good middle-class life, but we were not rich by any means. And this affected my money blueprint. When I graduated from college, this is a shot here, graduated from Indiana University, and I graduated with a degree in studio art with an emphasis in graphic design. And when I chose my major, I remember thinking distinctly, okay, I don't care that I'm not going to be super rich. Maybe someday I will be making like $60,000 a year, and then that's where I'll cap out. I'll be a creative director, making 60 grand a year. And I guess that's going to be my life, but I'd rather make that and be happy doing what I do rather than doing some miserable job that I don't like. Now, what ended up happening is I had to reprogram my money blueprint really quickly. This money blueprint, or the way that my persona perceives money. I had to reprogram it really quickly because in 1998, 2 years later, I had a salary of 60 grand a year. We were building okid.com, which was one of the first kind of virtual worlds for kids online. Super proud of this project. I was a creative director here, came up with the name OKid and was just over this entire project. Started as their webmaster and then ended up hiring 26 people or something like that over the course of a few years. I got some stories on that, and some of you might have heard some of those in some other content. I won't share them here, but the CEO got a lot of venture capital, and then all of a sudden there wasn't any money left for anybody. It was just a signature.com story. Anyway, 1998, my salary was already where my money blueprint was programmed when I graduated from college in 1996. So I already was like there, and I thought that I would get there someday, but it was 2 years later. And then in 2002, so this is 4 years after that, when I started freelancing, I had $60,000 in the bank. So I was already had 60 grand. So I'm like reprogramming my money blueprint because I thought this was an astronomical amount of money when I graduated from college. I thought that was just like an unattainable, astronomical amount that I wasn't going to have until I was like in my 50s. But I had that just a few years into it. I was 30 years old and I had that in my bank account. That's when I started freelancing. But then 4 years after that, my overhead was 60 grand per month. I had my first 5 employees or so in my first little office, and I was costing 60 grand a month. It was crazy. Like all of a sudden, what I had perceived as my maybe someday personal income level was my monthly overhead at my business. And so I had to reprogram my whole perception of money. And that just kept happening. 2010, I shared this story recently on some content stuff, but I refunded a client $52,375. And I just went to the bank and got a cashier's check to refund them that money in 2010. I had some big checks come in. This is a check from NBC Universal in 2011 for $112,000. I went and looked for pictures not every time, but when I would get a big check like this that was written out by a cool company, I took some pictures of those things just because I was like, you know what, this is kind of a pinch me moment when you have this kind of money that you're playing with. So I took some pictures of that and I went in and dug and found them before I recorded this session or this lesson right here. In 2011, so around that same year, we were in this space and my overhead was 1.5 million per year. Now, for somebody who grew up in this world that I grew up in, where in my brain 60,000 was a lot for an entire year, and now my overhead was in the 7-figure range, I had to reprogram the entire way that my brain perceived money. And I work with the people that I'm coaching in the creative businesses on reprogramming their brain. And some of this is me helping try and reprogram you right now. These are some tax checks. 2012, my taxes were over 200,000 per year. You can see a quarterly tax check here for 43 grand. My state tax was 31 grand. And then what I should have paid the year before and was paying now was 63 grand down there. There's that number, 60 grand. Again, I noticed that when I put together this lesson, it had a lot of them that were in that 60 grand, 60 grand, 60 grand. And there's a tax check right there written out for 60 grand. 2015, I sold my agency, and the agency I sold to, this is the combination of their team and my team. So they had 60 people, I had 20, sold my agency to this agency. We became the agency EKR, and our overhead was $3.6 million a year, $300,000 a month in just cash flow churn. But we were doing 7 million-ish in revenue each year. So now I'm the guy who 19 years before this, my brain was programmed at 60 grand being a lot of money. And now I'm working in the numbers of $7 million in agency revenue that we're trying to manage. I was one of the partners in this agency after my acquisition. So all of this talking up until now is to say that you probably have to do the same thing. You have to reprogram the way that your brain thinks about money. I'm still doing it today, and I have more money than I ever thought that I would ever have in my entire life, and I have that now, and I'm still trying to reprogram my brain because my money blueprint is still broken compared to what it should be. So $10 million, let's break into this. $10 million, is that a lot of money to you? That's a rhetorical question. Answer it in your brain. Now, $10 million. What can you buy with $10 million? Well, you can get a Ferrari and a beautiful house pretty much anywhere in the world. And you buy the beach somewhere nice. You can buy a house all over Europe. You can get some really nice stuff for $10 million. You can get you can have pretty much almost anything that a normal person would dream up. Is it yacht money? Maybe small yacht money. I have my yacht friend. He's a good friend of mine. He has a yacht down in Mission Bay in San Diego area. And, I don't know what his net worth is, but his house is pretty freaking fancy. Anyway, he's got a small yacht. And so you can have that in the 10 million. Now, 10 million to Jeff Bezos. Is that a lot of money? Is $10 million a lot of money to Jeff Bezos? No, because I'm going to show you how much Jeff Bezos makes. $59,000 to $142,000 per minute, $7.9 million per hour, $192.78 million per day. That is the breakdown. Now, if you look at that, you can see that it doesn't quite, if you crunch those numbers, it doesn't quite. 8 million per hour should only be 64 million per day if it's an 8-hour day or whatever. Maybe they're multiplying it by 12, or by 24. That's probably what it is. 8 million times 24. Yeah, so that's probably where they're getting their numbers. Anyway, it's a lot of money. I just looked up these numbers independently. How much does Jeff Bezos make per minute, per hour, per day? So it gave me independent different results. A lot of his net worth grows just based on Amazon stock price. That's where the bulk of his net worth is. So if the stock's doing well, then he's making this kind of money every day, minute, hour. So that 10 million to Jeff Bezos is not a lot of money. That is his per hour money, or in every hour and a half money. It's not a lot of money, but to you, you just thought in your brain, yeah, that's a lot of money. To me, $10 million is still a lot of money. I got to fix my blueprint on this. $10 million is still a lot of money. Jeff Bezos, no, but $10 million will buy the same things for me that it does for Jeff Bezos. 10 million to you, is it a lot? That's the question. I'm working to fix my money blueprint there. You might need to fix your money blueprint on some of these numbers. So rhetorically confess your money blueprint right now. $1,000, is that a lot of money? Think to yourself, is that a lot of money? If you got a $1,000 project, is that a lot of money? If you had a $5,000 project, is that a lot of money? $7,000? When do you get personally to where you think it's a lot of money? $10,000? Is that a lot of money? None of these can be a large amount of money if you want to have any measure of financial success as a creative entrepreneur. It just cannot be a lot of money. 10 grand, 7 grand, 5 grand, 1,000. You cannot perceive these numbers as a lot of money, or you're going to speak with insecurity when you talk to your clients about bigger budget projects. They're going to smell it on you. So you have to change your money blueprint away from these being big numbers. They cannot be a large amount of money. $60,000. Now, 60 grand was kind of like the last few years of my agency. This was like a bottom side website for us. We were doing $60,000 websites all the time. Never afraid to pitch this number. But going up from here, 100,000, we needed to have like 300 or 400 $100,000 projects every year. And we needed to have one or two $300,000 projects every year. We needed to have these bigger number projects. So 60,000, a big amount of money to you. In the later years of my agency, it wasn't. This was like half my monthly overhead. $100,000, is that a large amount of money to you? 200,000? 300,000, 500,000, where does it become a large amount of money? Now, I'll confess my money blueprint to you right now. 500,000, I look at that and that's a lot of money to me. It's still a lot of money to me. The Citibank logo that Paula Scheer, this is the famous story, she drew it on a napkin or whatever for Citibank, and Pentagram charged $1.5 million for this project. even though it didn't take a ton of time. I'm sure they made the whole style guide and all that stuff. But the point is that this is a $1.5 million project. You will never get to a $1.5 million project if you think that $5,000 is a lot of money. This project, $210 million for the British Petroleum redesign a few years ago. Now, this is the world's most expensive logo. There's question marks on what was actually included. Were they buying, to the level of the rebrand? And was it the implementation and install of all of the printed things on top of the design stuff itself? Is it all the printed and manufactured stuff and signs and all the things as well? I don't know. I don't know the details, but this is widely accepted as the most expensive logo ever done. You're never going to do a $210 million logo if you think that $10,000 is a lot of money. You're just never going to get there. You're never going to earn a significant amount of money if your blueprint is set too low. Your income can grow only to the extent that you do. That's a quote from T. Harv Eker in Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. You should get this book. It's an easy read. I actually have 2 copies. I had loaned a copy to my brother-in-law, and then I thought that he still had it, and so I bought a copy, and then I do think he still had it, but then I thought, oh my gosh, he still has it, and I bought another copy. So now I have 2 copies of this. Maybe I should gift it to somebody in my community. All right. Your income can only grow to the extent that you do. Abundance is not something we acquire. It is something we tune into. Wayne Dyer. Abundance is not something we acquire. It is something we tune into. We have to start dialing ourselves into what our perception of a lot of money is. It cannot be those smaller things. You can no longer think of $500 as a big engagement. It cannot be, or you will never achieve any kind of level of financial success. You have to be able to talk about bigger numbers and not come across insecure and scared. All right, let's set some realistic expectations for this money blueprint. I looked this up, this statistic right here. A study by Adobe analyzed Upwork profiles and found that approximately 25% of US-based freelancers reported earning $100,000 or more. So 1 out of 4 of the freelancers out there in the United States are earning $100,000 or more. That is not that hard. $100,000 should be easily attainable for anybody watching a video like this. And the reason is because the people who are watching videos like this are the people who are going to self-educate, and they're going to fix their money blueprint, and they're going to start to perceive the opportunity being financially bigger than maybe what they're programmed for originally. Those are the kind of people who are the 1 out of 4 that are doing $100,000 or more. 6-figure business should be easily attainable for you. Approximately 9% of businesses generate more than $1 million in annual revenue. This is a United States-based metric. So 9% of small businesses. So now we're setting realistic expectations. I thought about leaving this statistic out of the presentation because I didn't want to ruin your money blueprint. But 9% of small businesses generate more than $1 million in annual revenue. This should make you think, you know what? I'm going to be one of those 9%. It's 1 out of 10 hits a 1 million. You can do that. You can do that. I promise you that the people who will not do it are not watching a video like this. They will not hit those kinds of numbers. It just is impossible if they're not working to improve themselves and fix their money blueprint. Okay, $100,000 a year, that should be easily attainable. 100 or $1 million per year, doable. That should be doable for you. That should be doable for anybody who has decided, I am going to build this business. I'm going to build a creative agency, build a creative business. I'm going to get my money blueprint fixed. I'm going to start to push up my prices I'm going to get it to be a better salesperson so that I can close those deals. I'm going to optimize my production systems so that I can produce better work faster. And I'm going to hit those bigger numbers. That's what's going to happen to you for sure, because you're watching a video like this. All right. Fix your money blueprint. That's the summation of this. Look at bigger numbers. Listen to people talking about bigger numbers. Look at those checks that I started with, that I showed you the checks. I did that so that you could fix your money blueprint. I wanted you to see what it looks like. What is $112,000 one check? That wasn't the whole engagement. That was like one of 4 payments or something from that client. We were making a lot of money. We had dedicated people to them, to NBC Universal for a few years. So they were paying a lot of money to us. 112 grand, one check. We had other checks, multiple checks from that same client for that same engagement. You have to start seeing those things so you can realize that this is reality. And reality is that 25% of creative freelancers in the United States are making 100 grand or more. That's totally doable for you if you're not there already. And if you're at 100, let's get you to 500. Let's get you to be one of the 9% that hits $1 million plus. We can do that. We can do that. All right. Thanks so much for watching this video. We'll see you in the next one coming up soon.